Okay, go.
Alright. Welcome, guys, to the Sinnoh Power Rankings with me, Naim, the coach of Celta Victinis of the Johto division, and I'm joined by Julius.
And I'm also in the Johto division. So yeah, today we're going to be doing Sinnoh's power rankings, and it's probably best we do a quick disclaimer just to explain that these power rankings aren't indicative of players' skill, and that's not what we took into consideration.
Very true.
And just to let the people know, what did you base, like, what were some of the factors that you based your power rankings on? What were you looking for in these teams?
I care a lot about speed and pivots, and I think I quite like a good hazard setter.
That's fair.
I
That's
don't
fair.
really care too much about like stats or who has the most powerful hitters or stuff like that. Because I think in draft league, it's more about the versatility you bring and the way you can play around your teams.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What about
Um,
you?
with me, I looked at the cores that um, each team had and the different members they had and how they work well together. I placed a great emphasis on cohesion, and I hope that's consistent throughout my power rankings. So, should we get started?
Go for it. Do you want to kick us off with the first coach,
Yes,
the first team called the Xerneas Mamma Mia?
yes. So would you like me to give my opinions first, or would you like to?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, well, I think that the first two Pokemon um, like go nicely together. The Dark and Psychic offers a nice core. Then the Rotom Heat following that adds a pivot. I like that. One thing that decreased their ranking was the fact that there was no ground type and that the team is quite slow. Um, that concerned me. But they do have the Dusclops, which means there's potential for Trick Room. And they got some troublesome Pokemon like Golisopod, Serena can shut down some ground types. They've got some good options, but I just feel they're limited in what they can do.
Yeah, I agree pretty much. I think the speed, again, I'm a big speed man, even though I never like seem to draft speed. But I think the team is painfully slow. It does have a trick room, like you said, but I don't think trick room's a weekly thing to bring. It's kind of like you'll see it maybe once or twice. But what the team does have is a decent amount of hazard removal with the Rotom and the Serena, but it lacks the hazard setting, which I think is pretty huge. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, pretty much none of those Pokemon are viable rock setters, spikes, or webs.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I
Um,
think the team is really going to have to rely on just with its heavy hitters. And I
yeah,
don't know if the team will get by with just that. I think the cores are good with stuff like the Slowbro, Rome Heat, and Barazion. I think the Dittos are massive wild card.
yeah. I feel they've got a lot of wild cards now that you've brought that up, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to bring some of them to battles. Like, say a Pokemon like Vigoroth or um,
Mm.
even Galastria. There's a Pokemon that are difficult to fit into battles, and because there's not much cohesion in the team, I feel that it's going to be difficult to have matchups where
Yeah,
you feel completely on top.
I agree. I think yeah, the team's got potential, but I think it could definitely benefit from a few changes. But again, it's all down in the end. It's all down to how the player's playing.
Exactly.
But
If it
I
fit
think the team does need a bit of work.
if it fits their play style, then I think it would be very successful. But if it doesn't suit their play style, then I can see things going downhill.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next coach, I guess I'll kick off, is the New
Please.
England Pyro. So this is, your rain team. You got first of all, Muse fits most roles, I think. You can do everything with a Mew. But then you got the Pelip and the Mega Swampert's obviously infamous at this point. But I think the team, apart from that, doesn't use too much of the rain to its advantage. Because I know you don't want to just rely on the rain, but Mega Swampet's the only Pokemon that abuses the rain. Because Pyroar's fire attacks isn't great. The shift tree as well is actually more beneficial in the sun. So I think that's something important to mention.
I think that's
I think
true. Um, but I feel that they've got Pokemon that, while they're not like explicitly Pokemon that thrive in rain, they can do damage. Like Noivern, it gets Hurricane. Heliolisk has Dry Skin.
that's
Jinx actually gets Dry Skin. I believe that's its hidden ability. Um,
mm. No, I get but like I definitely think another Swift Swim user could have been useful, for example.
yeah,
And I also think there's not really any like massive physical threats apart from the Mega Swampert and Shift Tree if you want to be that guy. So I think maybe like just something else a bit more physical could be good because a bulky grass type's walling the Swampert and the Shift Tree.
that
So and if it's a special one, then the team's gonna have a lot of trouble breaking it down. But I think Mew provides some great versatility, especially with the Corviknight. There's lots of removal. There's a bit of hazard setting with the Swampert, but you want to mainly run it you know, all out offensive. I think Jinx is pretty decent for 1 point.
yeah, especially when it has Dry Skin. And
Yeah.
as
So
well, Sylveon's a cleric, which is good. You always want a cleric.
yeah, well, you ranked them pretty high up, so I guess explain your reasoning.
Well, I think first of all, Mew goes really well with the Rain Core and allows them to be more versatile in their approach. For instance, Pelipper doesn't have to, run Defog. Um, I like that. I like that they have Noivern because that can make use of Hurricane in the rain. Um, I also think having Corviknight as an added defensive option is good. Nidoking is a great special attacking threat.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and because they've got so many pivot options in, say, like Heliolisk, potentially Mew, Pelipper, even Mega Swampert now they get Flip Turn, potentially Corviknight. There's lots of opportunities to bring that Nidoking in, and when Nidoking comes in, it's bagging a kill. So I think
yeah.
it's
Nidoking from experience is literally impossible to like safely switch something in on.
yeah, it's very hard to play around. If
The
you
move pool as well.
if you use it sensibly, then you can get some great you can reap the rewards from it. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing I do think is they are quite dependent on rain, and say Pelipper doesn't come 1 week, then that does shut their team down quite a bit.
I actually think the opposite. I think it's not using the rain enough to its advantage.
I
Because I know there's the dry skin Pokemon and the Hurricane, but I think those Pokemon you can still use without the rain. But like, for example, Kingdra's an absolute monster in the rain.
yeah,
You can, may try and grab one of the fossils from Gen 1. They're actually pretty decent in the rain. The team definitely has potential in the rain, but I would have liked to seen it maybe like use it a bit more. Maybe grab something that's 4 times weak to fire, like the Ferrothorn or a Sizzle.
yeah, that's fair.
I think it's a good team though.
I think it's a very good team. I just feel it lacks um
Oh wait.
physical threats. That's the problem.
Um, well, the Ann Arbor Abomasnow are next, and we both rank this team at number 6.
Yes.
So I guess I'll go first. Mega Gallade, insane Mega. In my opinion, top 3 Mega. If it sets up, you're in massive trouble. Tapu Lele is another great wall breaker. And then you got, I think there's a decent amount. I mean, the Shuckle alone already provides hazard setting, but combined with the Heatran, I think the Galarian Darmanitan's a tactical nuke, and Zen mode is legal as well, so you can run that if you want. I think the 3 Psychic types is a bit excessive, and I also think this team is massively weak to fire. So I think if the team can patch those up, I think the team could be in a pretty strong place. I mean, the Abomasnow, the mascot pick, you have to respect. But I think the team, I think the team has good speed, good power. I think it's got a couple pivot options with the Starmie, the Raikou, the Shuckle. But I think it just needs something like to boost it a bit. Maybe trading out the last three Pokemon to get a decent 5 pointer.
Yeah, I agree. Can I give my thoughts?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so first of all, Mega Yali and Tapu Lele go really well together. Mega Yali, as you said, great Mega hits like a truck, um, especially in psychic terrain. Now I like how they selected each Pokemon. Like the first 8 Pokemon, they selected with care. Because look, Starmie, Rapid Spin user, um, and also a Psychic type. Now, while three Psychic types is excessive, at least they are going to benefit from that Psychic terrain. Um, and I like that they have like their main hazard clearer uses Rapid Spin because it means that they're not going to get rid of their own sticky webs from Shackle. So
Mm.
I like that um they took that into consideration. But the one thing is I don't see any other um hazard removal options. And I feel that Starmie is not the kind of Pokemon that you want to be forced to run every week, especially when you've
Mm.
already got two other big psychic types.
Yeah.
As well, their draft does decline um in their later stages. Abomasnow, I can understand why they brought that to help the Galarian Darmanitan Venom because it's a mascot pick. You have to respect that. But surely they would have been better drafting a 5 pointer than Abomasnow, Costany, and Dunsparce.
Even a 2 pointer at the end, I think.
Yeah, like you're not bringing Dunsparce to week 7 or week 8, week 9. It's not
I
enough.
think I did forget to mention sticky webs. Sticky webs, in my opinion, is an incredible move.
Indeed.
Like it forces your opponent to run hazards. I mean, hazard removal, unlike rocks, because some people just don't care about rocks. It can literally win you games. I think I always try and draft a sticky web user, and it can benefit the slow Pokemon on the team, such as Galarian Darmanitan doesn't need to be scarfed. Heatran can hit like a monster if it outspeeds. So I think it could maybe draft a slow heavy hitter to benefit from the webs, but I think the team in general is
Yeah.
pretty strong.
I think as
Unless you got anything to add.
one last thing, I think the webs is always good, not just for the slower Pokemon, but in this case, Tapu Lele, because it means that Tapu Lele isn't forced to be choice scarf. They
True.
have that comfort in running the choice specs Tapu Lele, which is an absolute monster.
Um, well, the next team is the Michigan Morwell. So I'll kick it off. We've got another mascot pick over here with the Mega Morwell, which is also a phenomenal Mega.
That's true.
Again, hits like a truck. It's just a bit slow. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is incredible. And then we got the Latios to help out the speed issue, as well as provide a dragon type, a Pokemon off the ground, Pokemon resisting fire. And then Gliscor is again similar to the Latios in terms of it's off the ground, resist fire. And both of these ice weaknesses are covered by the Mawile. So I think these three all work pretty well together. I think Keldeo is a bit of a one-trick pony, but no pun intended, but it does the job well. It does. I think the loss of hidden power hurt it, but it's still pretty useful Pokemon. I think Porygon 2 and Umbreon is a great core. It's going to be difficult to break down. Again, Umbreon's strong against dark types. Porygon doesn't want to get knocked off. Boom, switching the Umbreon. I think the only thing is the defensive Pokemon are a bit too weak to fighting, which a strong fighting type might try and exploit, like a big Conkeldurr or a Terrakion, something like that. But I think the team in general's got a good amount of hazard setting with a Fortress and a Gliscor. The team's typings are pretty good as well. I just think I don't really know what like the weakness is in the team, but I just feel it just needs like something.
It's
It's missing something.
it's it's funny you say that because That was my like initial thought, and that's why I've ranked it quite low. It's a good team. Don't get me wrong. Credit to the Mitchman Morales for drafting such a composite team. But I feel that there is a lot of momentum missing here. Even though they've got fast options in Latios and Keldeo and Salazzle, there isn't really like a pivot Pokemon that you can rely on.
That's true.
There's no electric type, and I feel when you've got Pokemon like Drampa, a brilliant special attacker, when you've got Mega Mawile, you need that momentum, and they just don't seem to have that.
Yeah, I do actually agree. The pivot, like, I didn't really realize it, but I think the pivot is a massive weakness, really. But I don't think it's going to hinder the team too much, just because I think it relies a lot on bulky offense
Yeah.
rather than like speedy offense.
Um.
But I think a bit of pivot is definitely nice. I think Porygon 2 does get teleport. That's the only one I think get some sort of pivot, but the rest of them, yeah, it's just missing some sort of pivot. I think maybe looking to trade out one of the two dragons for a pivot mon could be useful, or maybe one of the two steel types. But in general, I think it's a pretty good team. I think he'll have some a bit of success. And Julius, any points you want to make?
Yeah, it's a good team. Just lacks the pivot. I feel it could struggle against fast fighting types purely because the defensive Pokemon are quite weak to fighting types and they're quite slow. Um, but does Meowstic Mail get Prankster?
Yes.
Okay, I think they could utilize that to their advantage. Um, yeah, I think it's a good team, but as well, there's a couple of types that are just repeated, and that might
Mm.
that might make building a team a bit difficult because it might make them more weak to certain types. Um,
I think ground typing could also be a bit problematic. Even because, like, yes, Latios and Gliscor both there, but apart from that, like, Zygarde is going to have a lot of fun.
yeah, Zygo's gonna have a field day. A grass type, they definitely should invest in a grass type.
Yeah, maybe get rid of one of the psychic types. Honestly, I think Latios is a bit deadwood just because you have a dragon, you have a psychic. But then again, I think those are important types, so maybe having a Pokemon as strong as Latios is good. So
Yeah,
maybe getting rid of Drampa and Meowstic and then picking up a decent grass type could be worth it. But I don't know what's left, so I can't really like judge. But I do think a grass type could be nice. But I think overall the team's strong enough, and
yeah,
I'm excited to see what it can do.
yeah. It's
Any
definitely
final words?
definitely an interesting team. I look forward to seeing it in action. But yeah, I just feel it lacks in a few departments, and that was why I ranked it so low. Not because it's a bad team; it's a very good team.
Yeah,
Um,
if we can sort the pivot issues out, it could definitely be an incredible team.
definitely. Right, shall we move on to the next team?
Yeah, the Austin Azelf. So this was an interesting team to say the least. So I think Kieran Black hits like an absolute truck. Like there's not much. You don't have to explain why you drafted Kieran Black. I think
No. What's your switching?
as Zapdos. But yeah, exactly. Like Tapu Fini is the only thing I can really think of.
Maybe
Maybe Toxapex.
or Ferrothorn.
True, but even Earth Power is gonna hurt it.
That's true.
But anyway, we got then the Zapdos is again a phenomenal. I'm surprised it got Zapdos. Because Zapdos is, in my opinion, a pretty good round one pick. To be fair, late wheel,
Yeah.
but yeah, go on.
Yeah. Zapdos gives you like a lot of versatility right off the bat because it can be defensive default or it can be um a life orb set that hits a lot of things.
It's Volt Switch as well. Switch into the Kieran Black. Melmetal's another incredibly hard hitting physical attacker, but I don't know if you need it when you have the Kieran Black. It might be a bit like they might clash a bit because they both do the same thing. But Necrozma, amazing Pokemon, big wall, gets rocks, gets set up store power. Mega Pidgeot is a Pokemon you're a big fan of.
Yeah.
You want to explain that? Because I
Um.
don't really know how good it is.
Well, it's a good Pokemon and it gives you quite a few different options. It's one of them that does one job, but does it well, but then it has a couple of other tricks up its sleeve. So
That's a pivot.
it can be used as an additional defogger. It can be used as a pivot, and there is also the opportunity for Tailwind, which is
Mm.
good when you've got Pokemon like say Melmetal or Azumarill. Um,
Under Kieran Black, that thing's gonna be terrifying in the
oh
tailwind.
yeah, that is true.
Um, yeah, the Zoomer as well. It's not what it was in Gen 6, but it's still pretty good. However, I think what me and you can both agree on is from here on out, team just gets worse, like
Yeah, because
drastically.
the decadence after the Azumarill was um fairly flagrant, and I feel when you get to the later stages, you need to ask yourself, what do I need? And,
Yes.
take your time. You don't need to draft Kabutops for 2 points. Because if you look, um, did they use all 12 Pokemon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so surely they could have spent 8 points on one Pokemon rather than getting Kabutops, Gurdurr, and Swirlex. That's not a that's not a dig at the Austin itself or the Pokemon they've chosen. It's just I feel that um, having one 8 pointer would have covered more um, than say like a Pokemon like Kabutops because they're not running Rain. So what's the need for?
I think Kabutops get spin, maybe. That's the only thing I can think of, and rocks. But I think like a lot of the team was just kind of chucked in there for cheap points, which for me is like I guess everyone has a different way of drafting, but I'm always get 10 Pokemon and get 10 good ones over get 12 Pokemon.
Yeah,
I just feel it's a bit more efficient because like Roselia isn't going to do anything. I don't know. Like it might have a secret set, but I don't see Roselia being a huge
no,
threat. Alolan Persian's a decent Pokemon actually,
yeah, that's good.
and Gerda's pretty decent.
Growlithe's good, but
Swirlix is a sticky weather, I guess.
Roselia, Kabutops, and Swirlix. I feel they could have
I
been.
think they should be traded in for like a decent 5 pointer.
Yeah, because you just need to think what do I want out of my last couple of picks and then choose something that fits them roles.
In terms of
Um,
weaknesses, I see a big electric type weakness, which Kabutops doesn't help. You want to build it around those first 6 Pokemon, really, and see what like you can benefit your team with.
I agree.
Like for example, I guess Piloswine helps with electric types, but it's not a great like ground type, in all fairness.
Um,
And then team doesn't really like. To be fair, it covers the fighting weakness from its offensive Pokemon pretty well with the Zapdos and then Cosmo. But it's just, I think the team, I think, again, no offense to player, but I just don't think it was a well drafted team in general. I think it started off very strong, which is why it gets a pretty high ranking.
yeah.
But I think the second half of it kind of left it down. I don't know how well it's doing. Maybe the Roselia is kill leader, but I'm not sure. I've talked a bit. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Can I also add? I feel that an an alternative psychic type could have done more. Like Necrozma's a great Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but I feel something with a bit more speed would boosted something more fluid would have
Mm,
helped more. Also, the team doesn't really have a designated Scarfer. I know Kyron Black can run a Scarf set, but
yeah,
I feel this team would thrive more on the Life Orb set or on it being able to hit multiple types. Um, so it would have been nice to have seen them have a different choice Scarfer.
truth. But yeah, I think so it had potential. I think maybe trading out some of the like dead wood would be good. But anyway, next is the melodic Meloetas. So since you ranked them first, I'll let you talk about this one.
Okay, well, first of all, right off the bat, you got some brilliant special attacking threats in Landorus, Incarnate, and Mega Diancie. Then you've got the Hooper and then you got the Hooper Unbound, which you can run physical or special sets. Um, and the main impetus behind me rating this team so highly is the fact that a lot of the Pokemon um, are very versatile. Jirachi can run a Choice Scarf set, but it can also run a defensive set, which I think is what they'll mainly utilize. Um,
Mm.
and Jirachi can also be physically defensive or specially defensive. Though I think it will mostly play a specially defensive role because you've got physical defensive walls in Mandibuzz and Toxapex. Um, they've got Defoggers in Mandibuzz Decidueye, and they've also got the Magic Bounce, which works well. And something which really drew me to this team is the fact that their low tier picks, their low point picks are incredible. And this is what separates the top teams from the bottom. If you look at the contrast between the team we just looked at and this one, there's a big difference in the low tier picks. I mean, Trapinch, 1 point, but you're getting an arena trap user. That can change the game. Um, Also Sork, base 125 attack. Um, it gets Mold Breaker. It also gets Sturdy, so you can run a Sturdy reversal set. And then Pikachu, for 1 point, Pikachu is not a bad Pokemon. So I think there's a lot to deal with here, and there's a lot of versatility. Um, it would have been nice to have seen a Fire type, but I just think out of all the teams in this division, the Melodic Meloetters cover the most bases, and I really like their team.
Well, I mean, I agree with most of the points you said. I think land offensive threats are established pretty early. I think Hooper's like I'm happy about someone picking Hooper because I really like it. I just can't get it to work. So I'm happy someone took it, but I think between the Landorus, the Diancie, which is again a phenomenal mega, and the Hooper, and even the Jirachi got some good offensive threats. The only thing I don't agree with is the low tier picks being incredible. Because I know, at that point in the draft, because you spend so much in like the first 7 Pokemon. But I kind of prefer that they've done that compared to like trying to get 12 Pokemon and maybe spending like 5 to 4 points on 2 more Pokemon instead of 9 on Decidueye. So I'm kind of like you covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. I think the rock setters are decent. I mean, I think Jirachi's probably going to be the main rock setter.
Yeah, Jirachi is definitely playing a defensive role within this team purely
I can see
because
it being offensive and store power sets maybe, but I think defensive is the most like useful set for it. Because like you don't need more offense between the Hooper, the Diancie, and the Landorus. The only thing I would have liked to see on this team is a sticky web user.
yeah,
Just because Hooper Unbound in sticky webs is a nightmare. Because if the Hooper outspeeds you, you're in trouble.
yeah, that's
Like
definitely
that's the main thing. Like the reason Hooper, in my opinion, isn't good is because you just scarf something with U-turn and keep it alive. But I think the team is incredible. I mean, the only reason I ranked it second was because I just think the other team was even better.
that's perfectly fair.
But unless you have any other points, we can move on.
But yeah, I think it just covers a lot, and yeah, a sticky web user would have been that final icing on the cake.
If I had a sticky web user, I'd consider it for first.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
but I mean, this is not a team you want to play against. Imagine your week one is this team. You know,
Yeah,
it's not.
you'd be terrified if you don't have a physical wall.
Yeah,
And keep in mind, by the way, some of the Pokemon that like wall these Pokemon, such as Mandibuzz walls Hooper and Landorus, they have it. Like you can't look. Oh, I'm gonna draft Mandibuzz because of the Hooper and the Landorus threat. Nope, it's gone. I'm gonna draft Decidueye for the Mega Diancie. Nope, it's gone. And I think this team really like took away some important Pokemon, like the Toxapex as well, just walling everything in existence.
yeah, they've
It's a smart draft.
they pulled out all the stocks, and their opponents are going to be quaking in their heavy duty boots, I have to say.
Mm. All right. Well, next up, the Minnesota Nido-Kings. So I guess I'll kick this one off. I think the team is like very good. Like again, like none of the teams are shockingly bad. Like in my opinion, but I think the team has a good foundation to build off of with the Celesteela because that Pokemon's insane. but I really don't think they play to its strengths. Like the Dracovish kind of helps it out because Celesteela resists Fairy, Dracovish is weak to it. Dracovish is quad resist fire, Celesteela is weak to it. But then like Rillaboom adds another fire type weakness. The Blastoise is another electric type weakness. I think the Ninetales is a decent pick. But I think at this point you're like, I don't know, I think the main thing I think this team lacked, which was similar to the Michigan Moonwilds, was the lack of pivot. It was a bit more with the U-turning Mienshao and the Rillaboom. I think a flip turning Blastoise. But I don't know if you want to be running flip turn Mega Blastoise every week. I think sometimes you might just want to run hyper offense and not have to be pivoting out. In terms of bulk, I think Cresselia is the only like true hard wall. Everything else is kind of like could be an like bulky offense or isn't always going to be the defensive Pokemon. I think Rhydon for 5 points is pretty decent. Ariados is a sticky web user, granted not a great one, but it is one. And Bouffalant for 1 point's alright.
Um, yeah. Should I give my thoughts?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So yeah, again, like you said, I like that they start with the Celesteela. Like, it gives them a strong base to go off of. But then I don't feel that like Dracovish is a great Pokemon, but I don't think this team really benefits from Dracovish. And I feel that something like Zygarde would have helped out a lot more. And I know you're gonna say, oh, but Rillaboom has grassy terrain, but
No,
thousand,
Zygarde doesn't.
but
Zygarde loves grass terrain.
yeah, Thousand Arrows doesn't impact. It isn't grassy terrain. It doesn't impact Thousand Arrows. So there wouldn't be a worry about that.
The reason it didn't draft Zygarde was it got taken before it could reach him.
Okay, that's fair enough. But anyway, just something other than Dracovish. I feel that
Mm.
it doesn't really fit the team, especially when you're going to draft a Mega Blastoise. Um, the lack of pivot is evident, and that that could hinder them. Also, I don't like that their only ground type is Rhydon. I know Rhydon's a decent Pokemon for 5 points, but do you really want your ground type to have a 4 times weakness to grass and water? Um, I like Chandelier, but again, Chandelier's a Pokemon you need to be pivoting into, and just there's not enough momentum. And then even the bulky Pokemon, they're not like standout defensive Pokemon. There's only Cresselia, like you said, which is um a distinguished defensive Pokemon. I feel that the Celesteela will actually be there. I feel that they'll be running an offensive Celesteela most weeks with this team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the team does need a bit of work. I think the hazard setting is only really Rhydon as well.
Yeah, Rhydon
I
has
think
a
maybe another rock setter.
right.
Rhydon's got a lot of things to do, which isn't great.
Yeah, you don't want to put that kind of pressure on Rhydon. Again, it's a good Pokemon for 5 picks, but you don't want to be reliant upon Rhydon. You don't want to be depending on Rhydon.
That's why I think Dracovish should have been something else. That's a bit more like role can do anything. Like something like a Gliscor or like just again a Zygarde, just a Pokemon that can do like a bunch of different jobs, and then you can bring it every week and change the sets around. Because Dracovish, you know what it's going to do. That's just where I think the problems lie. I just don't think the Rhydon's got too much to do. I think the Cresselia is going to be important as well, which isn't a Pokemon you want to bring every week, in my opinion, because it doesn't apply a lot of offensive pressure. I think, but I think the team's got a substance to go off. It's just like I think it just doesn't stack up to the rest of the teams.
Nah. But it definitely has potential with Pokemon like Chandelier and Mienshao.
Mm.
It's just you want again with Chandelier, you want something to bring it in. But if they can get like a Volt Switch user, set up sticky bombs of Ariados and bring Chandelier in, they're they've got something there.
True. Um, well, I'm happy to move on if you are.
Yes, I am as well.
We got the Kolkata Corviknight Riders. So right off the bat, Dragapult somehow made it this far. But yeah, Dragapult Mega Venusaur is a pretty good call. Dragapult Sweet Fairy, Venusaur covers that. The other thing is ice types don't love ice types, but Mega Venusaur can handle that. And Urshifu applies a bit of more just a good physical attacker you can scarf and do damage with. I think the Weavars are pretty fast. Again, adds more speed, is a strong Pokemon. And Dark Ice is a difficult type to switch into. Metagross, sorry. Metagross is a good rock setter. Hits kind of hard. I don't think it's what it was at some point before, but still a decent Pokemon. Then we got the Zoroark. Zoroark's a weird one, just because like you can play such good mind games on your opponent, but it's also frail as a stick, so you need to be careful with that. I think the team's got like good speed. I think 3 Dark types was a bit unnecessary. I think Charizard was an interesting pick. I think it's just because they needed a fire type. But I think the team, again, it's one of those teams where like it's got a lot of good things going for it. The speed is there. There's a lot of bulky offense. There's a lot like just. I think the Venusaur's. The other thing is I think it's lacking a wall. I don't know if you'd agree with me there.
Um, yeah, I agree. I feel that besides Mega Venusaur, the only real defensive Pokemon is Metagross. And Metagross already,
Metagross is good offensive.
yeah, but like I feel that um Metagross already has a lot to do in being the main rock setter. Um,
Mm,
because yes, they got a Sticky Web user in Garvantula, but in terms of rocks, it's just Metagross. Um, and
yeah, I think it'd definitely benefit from a defensive like Pokemon. Aromatisse is all right defensive. I think
it
the
gets.
Mega Venusaur's gonna have to be bulky every week.
Oh, I think Aromatisse gets Stealth Rocks.
I can check that quick.
Yeah, I check, but I'm having to
Yeah,
use
your
my
screen
screen
recording. I'll check.
look there.
But yeah, um, yeah, just give us your thoughts whilst
Um,
I'm doing that.
so again, Dragapult, brilliant Pokemon, pairs well them with a Mega Venusaur. They do have a bit of a weakness to ice types,
Doesn't
and
get stealth rock, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
uh, also I feel Honchkrow is redundant when you've got Weaver there. I can
True.
I can understand drafting this alright because it does a different job to Weaver and it's a very idiosyncratic Pokemon, but Honchkrow, it's it's not it's not providing you with like with anything that Weavile isn't, barring being a flying type. So I feel that that could have like potentially they could have not drafted Honchkrow and then drafted the better fire type. Um, because Charizard's alright, it has a decent move pool, but having a taking 50% from Stealth Rocks is not ideal.
Um, One thing I forgot to mention as well is the clearance is terrible
Yeah,
with a Charizard. Actually, like the Charizard is very redundant
and as
because I think Honchkrow is the only default go apart from Charizard.
yeah, and as well, a lot of their Pokemon are quite weak to Stealth Rocks. Like
Oh yeah,
Weavile takes quite a bit, Honchkrow takes quite a bit, Gargantua takes um a good chunk of a good chunk of health is taken up out of Gargantua's health by Stealth Rocks, and Charizard is the weakest Pokemon to Stealth Rocks in the team.
Ice Pebble. Although heavy duty boots exist, but you don't really want to be running that every week with it.
Yeah, what are they gonna run heavy duty boots on 3 different Pokemon?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I get the use of boots kind of reduce the importance of rocks, but every team is gonna. Let's be honest. Every team is gonna be their first priority is gonna be getting rocks up. Well, that'd be my game plan. I just give something rocks and then go from there.
Yeah, definitely kills all their momentum. Because they can't switch really, and when you've got Pokemon like Dragapult,
Yeah.
which thrive on pressure, it's not
Mm.
it's not ideal.
I think the team in general has enough good Pokemon to work off. I think it's got a couple good pivot Pokemon with the Dragapult, the Zoroark, and the Honchkrow all coming in. I think Dragapult's just gonna be crucial every week, but there's no reason to not bring it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it might become a bit predictable. That the team might become a bit predictable after, say, week 5 because
yeah,
they're lacking options.
true, true. But it's still a good team, in my opinion. I ranked it pretty high up.
Yeah, I think it's a middle of the road team. I ranked it straight down the middle, um, at 8th. But yeah, definitely has some
Um,
things that it can do, but it's hindered by having 3 dark types and being quite weak to Stealth Rocks.
yeah. So next up, we have the Sin City Smeagol. And this was the other team that was contending for number one, I think, between both of us.
Yes.
Do you want to lead it or should I?
Yeah, I can kick things off. So the first 3 picks are brilliant because you've got Mega Scizor, Zygarde, and Silvally. Now Mega Scizor and Zygarde cover each other's weaknesses. Mega Scizor takes the Ice type hits, whereas Zygarde can soak up the fire type attacks. Then Silvally um adds diversity to the team because it can take on any type. Um, it's very versatile and can run many different sets. And I think that pairs that well then with the Azelf because it means you can run some interesting sets with the Azelf, like a suicide lead, and whatnot. Having Jolteon's good, good pivot. I do like that they've got the Roserade, um,
Hmm,
and it's good that they've got a Ghost type and a Alolan Marowak. I do think that their low tier picks could have been a bit better, but the top end of their draft is that solid and compact that they're not going to rely on them much. This is going to be a team that it's going to bring a similar team each week, but because all of the Pokemon are very versatile, they can um, bring different sets and catch the opponent off guard that way.
yeah. Shall I give my opinions on?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this team, I don't know if you remember, this is pretty much my season two team, but just better in every way. Um, it was Mega Scizor, insane Mega. You can run it offensive. I prefer defensive Scizor, if I'm honest, with Roost Defog, Toxic Stalling. But Bullet Punch is an insane move with U-turn as well, slow pivot. Zygarde, insane sweeper. There's only a couple Pokemon that really want to fight as I mean, you last season, I believe, drafted Tapu Bulu just for the Zygarde.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's Silvally again, does everything. Azelf, in my opinion, is such an underrated Pokemon. I think you can run it choice items, you can life orbit, you can set up, you can run suicide rock lead. So it provides a rocking aspect as well. Primarina, I think, goes under the radar a bit as another big special attacker, but he can also be kind of bulky. One Pokemon I really want to bring up is the Alolan Marowak. It was before season two, I didn't know how good this Pokemon was. I think it can be ran a few different ways with the. I mean, it hits so hard with Thick Club, Flare Blitz, and Poltergeist. But then you can also set up rocks. You can Will-O-Wisp. You can Taunt. And then I disagree about the low tier thing. I think Kamala's a very good low tier pick. Was this a spinner?
Oh,
It's got a good
I did
few
not know that.
offensive moves. Yeah, it's actually got spin.
Okay, that's good.
And then throw is a bit of a just an interesting one. I think the team's like really got everything down. It's got Pivot and the Azelf, the Mega Sizzle, the Prim, the
Jolteon.
Jolteon. I think Moltres gets U-turn.
I think so. Yeah. Um.
And then the hazard settings there as well. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and like you don't even need to be relying on throw because again, it's a type of team where you're going to bring a similar team each week, but you're going to use different sets because the Pokemon is so versatile. And I think that just shows that depth in a team doesn't always need to be in numbers. It can be in versatility.
Mm. This team did only draft 11 Pokemon, and almost every single one of them has a purpose, which I think really like distinguishes a team. But each one of these Pokemon could come. Like even the throw, like throw could come in at some point. You never know.
Yeah, it gets
But,
guts, I think.
yeah, but the first 10, they could all come at any point. And that's why I think that's why I rank the team so high, just because every Pokemon's useful. They all have a job. It's got toxic spikes as well with the Rose Raid. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it does. To be fair,
Yeah,
the team on paper, in my opinion, could definitely win the title.
there's not really a weakness to the team. It's like the Meloetis team. Uh,
Yeah,
I hope I got that name right.
yeah, I
Um,
think you did.
in the fact that um, and in fact, there's not really a weakness. It's just I preferred the other
Yeah,
team to this one.
just personal preference, really.
Exactly.
Um, well, after this, if we're going to move on, we
Yeah,
got the Pal Park Palisades.
I really like that
So
team name.
yeah, it's a good one. Um, so I'll kick it off. Age Slash was an interesting first pick. It's not something I see picked first, but I think it can definitely work. It's a pretty good Pokemon. I don't know why I'm saying it could work. It's an incredible Pokemon. I think Thunderous Incarnate's a good Pokemon, but I've used it before and I don't think it's like the best out there for an electric type. I think I think the speed gives is good for this team, but was the team after this is painfully slow, apart from the Inteleon really. But apart from that, the team in my opinion is pretty slow. Boswell's a good physical hitter, terribly slow, has a bunch of weaknesses as well, but it could shock a few people when it comes. Shaman, I think Shaman of all the like Pixie mythicals like Mew, Victini, Celebi is probably the like, worst one I think in my opinion. But I think it can definitely do a few things. It's got aromatherapy. I
And
think it might get U-turn. Check
Poti-
that for you.
potentially.
Yeah, if you want to give your opinions on it.
Yeah, I like that they drafted Egg Slash, um, round one.
Doesn't
Uh, Good Pokemon in the sense that you can run an offensive set or a defensive set. The team does lack speed at the back end of the draft. But one redeeming factor is that they drafted Comfey, which has the ability triage, meaning that healing moves have +3 priority. So that's good.
yeah, you come play.
Yeah, I do really like Comfey. Um, Boswell Boswell seems a strange pick for round three, but if you can get it set up, it can do some damage. And I believe it gets Stealth Rocks. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Who?
Boswell.
Boswell? I don't think it does. You could be two for two here in terms of Pokemon that don't get stealth rocks.
Yeah, I think
It does not.
okay.
You're having a stinker here.
I don't know why I thought it got Stealth Rocks, but regardless, if it gets set up, it can do some damage, but it's painfully slow. Um,
Mm,
it would have been a good idea for them to draft the Trick Room using like a Dusclops
mm.
because that could have helped them out a lot.
Or Tailwind could be good.
Tailwind could also be good.
Or Sticky Webs.
Comfey actually gets Tailwind.
Of course you know this.
Um,
But
Also,
yeah.
like a lot of their Pokemon are weak to Stealth Rocks, namely
Oh yeah.
Moltres, Arceus, and Thundurus Incarnate. So
Oh
that's
yeah, three flying types is interesting.
that might be problematic. But I think
Mm.
it's a good team. It's just I just personally don't like the composition of the team. I feel that Inteleon could be replaced by something else.
Mm. Um, I think the teams like I don't like if you look at all the teams before, they've all got that like standout like Pokemon. I
Yeah.
think this team like it's not a bad thing, but I think this team's just lacking something that's like gonna make the opponent quake in their boots, like shaking their chair. But like the Age of Slash is like the only thing that could kind of like make the opponents quiver in the chair. But
There's
even then, it's not something like it's not what it was in Gen 6 again.
no, there's no pizzazz. There's no,
Like, like
X
you look at the
factor.
teams before, there's Urshifus, there's Dragapults,
Like
like Landorus's. If you look at it like the Melodic Meloetta's team, which is just full of heavy hitters that's going to intimidate the opponent. That's why I just think the
exactly.
team's lacking. I think it's just lacking something to just some oomph, really.
It's like there's no X factor. There's no pizzazz. And what it is when you're a draft league player, you'll know yourself. When you're going into prep, and you've got a hard team in front of you with heavy hitters, it makes preparation very difficult. If I was facing this team, I wouldn't be worried. And now that could turn out to be a good thing because
Yeah,
some opponents may underestimate them. But on the flip side to that, um, there's not much to worry about in terms of specific Pokemon. And I think
yeah,
because there's not much momentum in the team, um, it they're going to have a bit of a hard time in certain matchups.
yeah. I agree. And the thing about their like having a big like scary Pokemon like Kieran Black is it kind of forces your opponent to like put everything onto that Pokemon, which lets like so let's say I don't know. Imagine you had a Kieran Black on this team. You like prep for the Kieran Black, then you bring the Buzzwole and I don't know, nasty plot Thunderous in. Like it can throw, it can like completely make people forget about the other Pokemon and just like tunnel vision one Pokemon, which everyone's done at some point.
Yeah,
But I think that's just why I think something like you can even get something like that in their 8 pointers, which I think you could trade out maybe in Teleon.
yeah. Phil and Teleon um, is unnecessary.
And I think there's 11 Pokemon, so maybe even like trading out Inteleon and Archeops and then just getting a big heavy hitter for 13 points.
Yeah, I like Moltres, but then I think after they drafted Moltres, there's no need for Archeops
Yeah,
because
especially with Thunderous as well.
you've got
But
two flying types, and Archeops is a situational Pokemon.
yeah, just feels like I think we're rambling a bit. um, I think we should just move on to the next one.
Yeah, otherwise we'll be here all night.
Yeah, we'll be here for years. So next one, the Fady War Criminals.
Oh, what a surprise that the trainer who drafted this Pokemon is called Fade. Would never have suspected that.
Um, all right, so I'll let you discuss this one first.
Okay, so one of the reasons I ranked it so high up is the fact that um the team has good cohesion and it follows a standard theme, which a lot of these teams don't. I'm not saying that the majority of these teams are bad. I'm just saying they don't follow a specific theme, whereas this one does. You've got the Excadrill Hippowdon Sandcore right off the bat, and that's assisted with Mega Aerodactyl. Now, one gripe I do have with this team is that Zeraora doesn't offer much to the team. I know Zeraora is a great Pokemon. I ran it last
Mm.
season in Season 2, and it did wonders for me. I believe it was 6 in the kill leaderboard. But they've got speed. They've got a Mega Aerodactyl, and they're going to have a Samurai Excadrill. So is Zeraora, another physical attacker, really necessary? Then following on from that, Manaphy is a good Pokemon. It's a good water type. However, I feel like a water type that performed a different role would have been more suitable because Manaphy is more of set up with Tail Glow or run 4 attacks. They're not I would rather have seen something like Jellicent there as a water type. Broom's a good pick. Gives them another physical attacker and a sport user. And looking at the back end of the draft, I like Gouge. I do like Mimikyu. Kadabra's an interesting pick, and Stoutland is good because of Sandrush.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that they cover a lot of weaknesses and draft some good cores um was a determinant for their ranking. However, certain picks are quite questionable, namely the Zoroark and the Manaphy. I thought they could have chosen different Pokemon in their place.
Yeah. I think, there's definitely a lot of speed and the heavy hitters in the Escadrille, the Mega Aerodactyl, and the Zeraora. I think I do agree with the point that Zeraora could maybe be swapped out for a big special attacker, especially seeing as it's like the most expensive Pokemon on the team, which, you can maybe trade out for something a bit more useful to the team. But I don't think it's going to hinder them, seeing as Zeraora is a phenomenal Pokemon. And then Manaphy, again, Tail Glows. See, this is what I mean about like terrifying Pokemon. Like Tail Glow Manaphy is a threat. Like if you can't fight a team with Manaphy that in a league that allows Tail Glow and then not prep for it. So there's that element as well where maybe you decide not to bring it, and your opponent's brought a bunch of hazing Pokemon or toxic stalls. Breloom is an interesting one. Toxic Heal. Toxic Heal's a great ability. It gets Spore. Spore, Swords Dance, Mark Punch is good. Mimikyu's another setup Pokemon, which I don't think we needed three of, with the Manaphy, the Breloom, and the Mimikyu, but could definitely work. And the low tiers are pretty decent in my opinion. Again, the team's very good. Again, I think the main issue is just it's competing with like the top two teams in my opinion, like were always going to be top two.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
just a bit unfortunate that those two teams were so strong.
Oh, one last thing as well. I wrote this down in my notes. I would have forgotten this if I hadn't have written it down. Is that the the Rapid Spinner and Defogger are both offensive Pokemon, and
Oh, yeah.
it may hinder their attacking potential. Um, them having to run a clearance move. So I feel that
My, Go on.
I feel that having another Pokemon, say like swapping Zoroark up for something that would provide the team with utility and would be able to um use Defog or Rapid Spin would be much better.
I was just gonna say as well that I don't think there's a lot of pivot. I think it's just Manaphy and Zeraora.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is, I had a point as well. Um, I completely forgot. Um, oh yeah, the team. I think personally, Tyranitar would have been a better sand setter, just because the team doesn't have a dark type, and I think dark types are very important.
Yeah, and then they would have been able to have a dark fighting psychic core, which would have been
Yeah, especially, and it would give them something to resist the like terrifying psychic types that teams such as the Ann Arbor Abomasnow have.
yes.
I still think the team's very strong. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I just feel they need clearance options that clearance options on Pokemon that aren't offensive, because say at Excadrill
Yeah.
you want to run a set up Excadrill, it can hinder you having to run Rapid Spin,
Mm,
and it can hinder you having to run Defog or Mega Aerodactyl.
yeah. Um. So we'll move on to St. Joseph's Harluchas,
Yes.
which mean you had, some contrasting opinions on. Um, I'll go first if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I think the team just has a lot of like shared weaknesses. Like Megalopen and Terrakion do not belong on the same team. Like they're both weak to fighting, they're both weak to psychic, they're both weak to fairy. The other thing is that I guess flying types are slightly less annoying with Terrakion, but then Earthquake, but neither of them wants to take an Earthquake. And I guess Hydreigon's there, but then Hydreigon's just a third fighting weakness, another fairy weakness. And I think Galarian Slowking covers a bit of that, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Empoleon is a pretty good Pokemon as well, default and rocks. It's a water steel type, which is a pretty good type, but again, another fighting weakness. I think you see where I'm going here. But yeah, basically, I just think the team's too weak to common types in general. I think, and I'm gonna get hated for this, but Shellos isn't a great Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true. It's not.
Like,
It's not great.
I know it's there for the memes, but um, like if we take away the Shellos, we're effectively playing with 9 Pokemon.
No, with the Shellos, they're playing with 9 Pokemon.
True, but anyway, like imagine because the Shellos isn't gonna come. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
that's what I'm saying. Even with the Shellos, they're playing with nine
Yeah,
Pokemon.
they are playing 9 Pokemon, which I think 10's fine. Nine's a bit like uh, nine's a bit. You're just kind of pushing it with 9. I think.
Yeah, especially when you've got a lot of shared weaknesses.
Yeah, like Lopunny and Terrakion aren't coming the same. Like aren't going to be coming too often on the same day, which takes away another like which one's going to. You just kind of have to think which one's going to come and prep for them both because they're fairly easy to prep for. And then Hydreigon's good. I do think team does have a lot of offensive, like great offense and good defense. Lopunny's a great Mega. Terrakion's hits hard. Hydreigon's brutally, just a brutal Pokemon to fight. Slowking, we've seen get 6-0 teams. And Empoleon just is. Empoleon and Florges are kind of holding it down in defense, I think. It does have a lot of removal with the Rotom, Florges, and Empoleon. But yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I ranked it high is I understand that they have a lot of their Pokemon have a lot of shared weaknesses, but what you do see is some good typing cores. You've got a Fighting Psychic Dark core, you've got a Steel Fairy Dragon core, and you've got a Fire Water Grass core. So there are some good options there. I do think it was strange that they dropped the Terrakion after Mega Lopunny, because Mega Lopunny performs that role um very well. They're a comprehensive fighting type. Um but they've got really good offensive options in the Mega Lopunny, the Hydreigon. Galarian Slowking can do some damage. Um and I like that they've got a Dugtrio, because that can bring the momentum back. And even though they've got some weaknesses, if a Pokemon that's weak to Dugtrio takes something out, then Dugtrio comes in and revenge kills it. So
Yeah.
I think that will be helpful. And I liked Typhlosion a lot, so I think that could be effective as well. But
Wait, go on.
but they do lack that depth in numbers, because I feel like they're playing with 8 Pokemon, because first of all, um only one of Megalopi and Terrakion, only one of that duo is going to appear each week.
In my opinion, like they might bring both, but
It's unlikely. And second of all, Shellos is not coming. Like Shellos, I'll be surprised if Shellos makes an appearance in this
that's
season.
for kill leader. Um, One thing I do want to bring on as well is like yes, they have cores, but probably their cores use a lot of their offensive Pokemon, which isn't great in a core, in my opinion. Like if you want to build, let's say, what is it, a fighting psychic dragon core, the Hydreigon and Lopunny or Terrakion are all very frail. So you don't even want to bring them in on like a not very effective move.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I do think the team has its strong points, but I also just think the shared typings for me is just too much. And I think it will just like make certain Pokemon just destroy this team.
I think
Um,
I think it's
well,
one that's either gonna work really well, or like be terrible in practice. So I think that both our rankings are justified, and this team is one that could really finish anywhere because it's got really good options, but then it's got a lot of frailties. So in some regards, it's a glass cannon. Um,
Yeah. Um, so I'm just going to move on quick to the Freeport fletching. Always butcher that. Um, so I'll let you explain this one.
yeah. Okay. I like starting with Tornadoes. Gives them a defogger, lots of sets you can run, a Soul Best Life Orb. Infernape gives them speed. Again, lots of sets you can run. Infernape actually gets Stealth Rocks, and I know that this Pokemon gets Stealth Rocks.
Was it time for a hat trick?
No, no, Infernape
No,
definitely gets Stealth
I know,
Rocks.
I know it gets Stealth Rocks.
Yeah, and Infernape can actually run special sets as well, if you're about that life. Ferrothorn is a Stealth Rock user. Again, don't try and tell me that Ferrothorn doesn't get Stealth Rocks. Um, Mega Gyarados is a good Mega and gives them a Water type. Um, but then I feel Crocodile was unnecessary. I feel a more defensive ground type would have been better. And then Gigalith seems unnecessary as well. I feel that if they were going to bring Gigalith, then bring a Pokemon that can take advantage of Sandstream.
Mm.
Um, and again, they draft two electric types right after that. I don't feel they need two electric types. But Smeargle is a good um is a good low point pick. Whimsicott is a good Pokemon. It can set up Tailwind. So I think this team's got a lot of little things that it can do, and there's a lot to take into consideration when fighting this team. It's just there isn't. I just feel that something's missing. It's one of them where I feel something's missing, but I can't put my finger to it.
Well, I think the shared typing is a big factor. Two ground types, two dark types, two electric types, two grass types. Like, I do think, like, I know shared type, you are going to have shared typings, let's be honest. But I don't think you need that many. Tornado Staring, is, in my opinion, is like a top five pick in draft now.
Yeah,
With regenerated U-turns, incredibly annoying. And I'm surprised it made it like to the bottom of the list in the round one. I think the team has a lot of versatility and it has decent pivot with Tornadus and Infernape, the Raichu. But I think maybe another pivot could be brought in. And I do think Crocodile should be swapped out. I
yeah,
know, like, I think Mamoswine's still available in this league, in this tier, which would, in my opinion, be a lot more beneficial.
yeah. I think when I looked at this team, I actually looked to see if Mama-san was available because it would help out a lot.
Mm,
It's just I don't understand why you would draft Raikou and then draft Dracozolt right after.
yeah.
Or like surely you
Um,
would draft Dracozolt if you wanted it and then choose a different Pokemon. You wouldn't draft two electric types
I do
back
agree
to
with the
back.
point of the Gigalith. Um, I think I think there are times you can like just have a sand Pokemon and like the only time in my opinion you should draft a sand Pokemon and not care about the weather is Tyranitar. Because Tyranitar's just a monster.
Yeah, but
But
Gigalith.
Gigalith is not a monster. Like, it's just an okay Pokemon. If it didn't have sand, it would not be in the 7 points.
Yeah, the only reason it's worth 7 points is because of its ability Sandstream.
Yeah. But I think the team has its massive offensive threats. I think Gigalith and Ferrothorn will be like the main defensive Pokemon. Ferrothorn's a phenomenal Pokemon. Um, Big Farage. Um, but yeah, I think the team has some holes to patch up. It's not a terrible team at all.
No, it's got a lot of potential because it's got little things that it can do, like with the Whimsicott, the Tailwind, all the
Yeah.
prankster shenanigans, and then Smeargle setting up sticky webs.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I did forget about that. Sticky Webs will be good.
yeah. Um,
Um,
Could they have gone for Arctozolt rather than Dracozolt? Probably.
Pundits table say yes.
Purely
But
because it is the most broken Pokemon in draft.
nothing switches into it.
No, 18 points are banned. And if your opponent wants to be big brain and run Bright Powder, you run Gravity and win. It's that simple.
True, true. Well, Bright Pilot's actually banned.
Yeah, it is. So
Alright, so next, I'm just going to move on. We have the Shibuya Sandvales. So I'm going to kick it off. This team has like, a bunch of scary Pokemon.
yeah,
Like, the Tapu Koko is an incredible Pokemon. Like, even if it's not what it was Gen 7, it's still insane. In my opinion, it's the best Tapu.
I agree.
Kamo Omni Boost is terrifying. But it's also got Stealth Rocks and it can be around bulky. Something to watch out for. Kartana, phenomenal physical sweeper. Like, you know what it's going to do, really, but like, there's teams that just can't stop it.
Yeah, but it has a paper chin, quite literally.
Yeah, like, it's literally, like, I've used Kartana many times, and there are teams which can't prepare for a Kartana. I thought Kartana last season did not have fun. Incineroar, pretty good. In my opinion, it's great for 10 points. Does a few different things. Parting Shot's a great move. Then there's a Slow King, which is a pretty decent Pokemon for 13 points. It's not as good as the other slow, this the like slow brother, but
Other brother, so
brother from a different mother. But it's it's still good. It's a good special wall. Mega Pinsir. I think Mega Pinsir's a good Pokemon, but this team doesn't really help it too much because the only things removing are Donphan and Abug, which aren't great Pokemon.
no, and they're very slow.
They're very slow, and I don't think they're going to come every week.
No,
Maybe Donphan, Avalok is definitely
no,
not.
Avalog. I speak from experience because I'm using an Avalog in season 3 of the NPBA, and it's not a Pokemon you can bring every week, but it is
It's
a good
very
Pokemon.
difficult to bring.
Yeah,
Um, but I think the reason I ranked it last is just I think there's no pivot really.
yeah.
Well, actually, no, there's a bit, but not a lot.
There's two good pivots in Tapu Koko and the Parton shot from Sinnoh. But other than that, the team is heavily lacking in momentum. Also,
There's
you're
teleport Slowking as well if you want to be that guy.
yeah. Also, you're running Mega Pinsir, but there's not, there's not a superb clearer, hazard clearer.
That's what I was saying.
Um, but I like the little core of Kartana in Incineroar. That's something that is um gaining quite a lot of popularity.
Parting shot into the Kartana is
Yeah,
busted.
yeah, it's a great tactic, and I like that they thought of that. And then the Tapu Koko Kommo core is good. I'm a huge exponent of Kommo. Um, yeah, Kommo. I'm terrible at pronouncing that Pokemon's name.
It's
Um,
come
Kommo.
yeah.
Oh, come on. Um, no, but it's a good core, and I think it gives the team something to, build off of.
Mm,
However, the back end of the team is just very slow. Like
mm.
Licky is one of them Pokemon. I see it used a lot as like a wish cleric, but I just feel that there's so many other Pokemon that can perform that job better.
Like it.
Um,
It's gonna be simple.
yeah,
Um, I think the blade. I'm gonna do a U, and I think it gets stealth rocks.
I'm
I'll
not
check
I'm
that.
not gonna speak because I'll probably be wrong.
If I speak, I'm in big trouble. Oh, it doesn't. We're having stinkers over here.
What's that 2-1?
Yeah, 2-1. I don't want to ask if Avalon gets them. Um,
I should know, but I don't.
I'll check. But yeah, I think there's not a lot of rocking potential either.
No.
So the team isn't going to be setting hazards to force the opponent to clear them for them.
Yeah,
It's also not going to be removing them.
they they haven't got
So
they haven't got a lot of win conditions. I know they got some good Pokemon, but Cartana is Cartana and Komodo are their only real win conditions, apart from the Mega Pin. So
Orthrox is not a move Avalok knows.
okay, that is good to know.
But yeah, like Pinsir and Kamar are the only things that. Well, Kartana's also pretty terrifying, but I think that's the one thing the team does have is that just terrifying Pokemon that can end your career. But
Yeah, but
apart from that, I think the team's just not based. Like it's not based around anything too
yeah,
well, in my opinion.
this is the
There's not
thing.
enough Pokemon off the ground
This
either.
this is the thing. They're going to pick up a couple of wins with the scary threats like Cartana, Como, Tapu Koko, and Mega Pinsir. But they're not going to be beating teams in a tactical battle, in a war of attrition, that kind of thing, because they simply don't have the resources and um, the hazard removal to do so.
Yeah. Um. I mean, there's a lot we could say, but I think we should move on to the next one,
Yes.
the Star City Sizzles, and this one's going to be an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah.
Um. Who goes first?
I'll let you go first.
All right. So Garchomp, phenomenal Pokemon. Like, there's never a reason to like not draft Garchomp if it's not available. I mean, if it's available, especially when you're low down the draft, like the Star City Sizzles were. And then Clefable is a phenomenal Pokemon to pair it with. And then they established a core pretty early with Sizzle. Uh, then there's Rotom Wash off the ground, phenomenal Pokemon. Um, and then Crobat as well. Crobat, in my opinion, is such an underrated Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a good Pokemon. I can run quite a few different sets.
Yeah, very resist as well for the Garchomp. And that's what I like about the team is like it seems to revolve around the Garchomp. Then Hitmontop is a good clearer along with the Sizzle, the Rotom, the Crobat. And the team does have a lot of hazard control because it can set up its own hazards with Clefable, Garchomp, and Cradilly. Ambipomp's a Pokemon I'm fond of. I think it's got a decent move pool. It's not better than Chinchino anymore, but it's still a decent Pokemon. Cradilly is very underrated. Is actually immune to Scald, which I think most people forget.
Yeah, it's
Well,
big.
Scald's usually a free move to click. And then Arcanine for last pick is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Arcanine hung around to that round.
20
Uh,
minutos.
because Arcanines can do a lot of things. It has a form of recovery. It's a Will-O-Wisp user. Um, gets wild charge so it can hit water types. There's a lot that Arcanine can do, so I'm surprised that they were able to get Arcanine. It's just what put me off his team was the fact that there is no Mega Pokemon.
Mm.
That is an issue. And I get that it's a balanced team and they cover everything well, but nothing stands out here. Um,
So what I'm going to say about Megas is yes, Megas are good, but only if it fits the team. Like, because the team, in my opinion, doesn't need a Mega. Because I know Megas are great, but like the team covers everything, in my opinion, to not warrant a Mega. Like, I think it's a similar situation to last team where, not last team, under St. Joseph Holuchas, where it's going to go either very well or very badly for them not having.
yeah,
Which is why I think our rankings are so different. But I think the team's got such a strong core. I think they don't have to worry too much about that. And they've got enough hazards of their own and enough hazard removal. I think Pivot's pretty bad. So you can say it. I think there's Teleport, Arcanine, there's Ambipom, and Sizzle.
Yeah. I think this is one of them teams where, again, like you said, can go either way because it depends what kind of player this um this person is. If they're someone who likes to play a balanced game where they wear their opponent down, then this team will suit that. Like if there's someone who likes to take an offensive approach and win with a single win condition, then this team isn't going to play into their strengths.
Mm.
Um, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that this team does fit their strengths. So, they're capable of doing anything with this team because it's very balanced. And it's very refreshing to see this unique approach to team building. Um,
Yeah.
because, when do you not see a mega?
It's not a common sight.
No.
Um, right, just so this video doesn't end up as long as the Bible. Mm, don't want to cut you off. I think we should just move on to the last team.
Yes.
Unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I feel you covered everything, and everything with that team is pretty self-explanatory.
So we've got the Femboy Feenies. So I'll just start it off. Tapu Fini. I think at this point the first pick is always going to be not as strong as all the others because they got last wheel. So I think Tapu Fini was a fair pick, especially with the mascot. And then Mega Kangaskhan complements it well by being the offensive threat. Gengar's a great fast special attacker, and Skarmory's another defensive Pokemon. And I think that's what the team done well. They drafted a nice mix of defensive and offensive Pokemon. But I think they're in a similar situation to the Austin Azel, where they drafted a lot of like dead Pokemon,
Yeah, there's a lot of dead wood on this team.
like Arco, Zed Striker,
Yeah.
and even like
Kecleon.
Machamp could be traded out for something a bit better, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely better fighting types out there, around our point range.
I like Machamp, but he's not a great Pokemon.
Yeah, he's packing full arms, but he's not, you know, he's not packing a big enough punch to
In
warrant
terms
spending
of rock
70.
setters, there's Skarmory
Karkle.
and Carkol. If Carkol's one of your main rock setters, you're in trouble.
Flygon.
Flygon, I don't think Flygon gets rock sled.
They're not. Well, it gets defog.
We could be 2-3 here. He's done it! Hat trick.
three
Yeah,
of the
Flygon doesn't get rocks. It does get defog though.
three of the besties made them pay. Um,
Um,
but the Tapu Fini and Mega Kangaskhan core is good because Misty Terrain prevents Mega Kangaskhan from being burned while it's up, which is
true.
good.
I think the team's fairly weak to like ice. That's the typing I'm seeing that could be threatening.
Mamoswine would have this team on tenterhooks.
I was about to say Mamoswine would be well, Mamoswine's a dangerous Pokemon for most teams,
Yeah.
but this one in particular would not enjoy it too much because all it has is Tapu Fini.
Um.
But I think Tapu Fini's a bulky enough one to handle it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how well it does if I'm 100% honest. I
I've
think there's lack of rock setting, there's lack of pivot as well.
I think what they need to do is they need to get rid of the Karkle Zeb Striker, get a different fighting type as well. But they need they
I'd
need
be down to change out for Wacky as well. I
yeah.
don't think it's that good on this team.
No, I don't think it complements this team much.
There's a Zarude already.
No, but the thing is, you've like Misty Terrain works well, so why
Yeah,
have Grass Terrain?
you don't want to change up again.
But I think having a different electric type to provide a better pivot would be good. But
Imagine this. Wait, go on.
um one redeeming factor is the Gothitelle. Um, Shadow Tigers is an incredible ability.
Um, Does this team have a Mega? Yeah, Mega
Yeah,
can
Mega
get them.
can.
Look, trade out Zev Striker. This is what I would do. Does this team has 12 Pokemon, I think? Yeah, it has 12.
Getting out the
So
Abacus
if you change
beads.
out, yeah, if you change out the Zev Striker, the Carkle, and the Thwacky, and pick up the Vikavolt, the team's in a much better place, in my opinion.
Yeah, that gives them a sticky webs user as well.
Sticky Web is, and it hits like a truck. And the
Yeah,
Machamp could benefit from that if you don't want to trade out the Machamp. And likewise, the Machamp, there's a lot of good 7 pointers in there.
yeah.
You could pick up a Selgor if you really wanted to, or if you don't, and pick up a fighting type somewhere else. But because there's not many fighting types in the 7 points. But yeah, I think the team's just got a lot of dead wood. But I think the teams upon that aren't dead wood are strong enough to hold it down.
Yeah, I feel if they get rid of the last 5 Pokemon, then they're going to have 18 points. They can pick a fighting type, pick an electric type, and then get one more Pokemon.
Mm.
And they'll be set. But what they,
I think
what
that's what separates the teams. Go
yeah,
on.
I think what they have got at the top end of the team is strong enough to take it through to playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it really for the Sinnoh Power Rankings. Sorry you guys have been waiting so long.
Yeah. Willem I had to step in for Willem because he was
What a
ill.
shocking substitution. Doesn't know what Pokemon get Stealth Rocks.
Okay, you can't talk about that either. So
Um, at least I know how many legs a frog has. Um, but yeah. Um, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, this is purely just our opinion. I
yeah,
think there are some things we said which could be considered objective, but the rankings could be swapped around depending who you ask. And this just to help out. Because I know Sinnoh region's full of more, the Sinnoh division's more new players. So
take
if you want to
everything.
take the advice, you can. Don't feel like you have to.
Yeah, take everything with a pinch of salt. Um,
Maybe a bit of pepper as well.
Maybe if that's your thing. But
Um,
just remember that these power rankings are subjective and they're not a reflection of each player's skill.
oh yeah, this has nothing to do with skill.
All of these teams can do well. There is not a team here
Yeah,
that is a bad team. If there was a team that was bad, I would say it was bad.
and we'd both have them as ours.
Yes.
Well, neither of us had the same team as 16th.
And
Like,
even
there's teams which are lower down, but
and,
none of them like just stood out as absolutely awful teams.
and neither of us had the same team as first.
True. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah.
Hope you have a great day.